What's going on, folks? Will Stewart here with another introduction. This time it is a look at Logic, and we are going to be reacting to Tifo IRL's Why Spurs Should Sell Harry Kane Now. I know you've heard it. You've heard all the arguments. You've heard all the rants. You've heard all the reasons about why we should keep Harry Kane. All the fallacious reasoning used to justify it.
But Will, we're gonna have as much money if we keep Harry Kane and qualify for the Champions League as if we sold him.
Is that true? Is that actually true? It's not. But make sure you hit that like, subscribe button. If you disagree with me, or if you want to cuss me out down in the comments below. We've got a great video by Tifo IRL. The description to the full video is in the description down below. And we're going to get into this. We're going to watch. We're going to listen. Because these guys do a really brilliant job of breaking down the actual facts, the logical, the rational, basically debunking all of the irrational and illogical opinions that you've heard on Twitter, that you've heard from other YouTubers, that you've heard from all kinds of silly, goofy people. And anyway, let's get into it.
The first game we look for, Robbie, Tottenham away. When we got Tottenham away, Tottenham away. When we got Tottenham away.
So what we got here are the two basic reasons, right? So option one. Now this is obviously, right, Harry Kane, great player. I don't want to see him go if he doesn't have to go, right? But here's the key thing. But if he's not going to sign another contract, if he's either going to leave this summer or next summer, these are the two options. These are the two arguments we're talking about. Stop bringing in red herrings of if he signed a new contract. Well, then yes, obviously if he signs a new contract, then there's nothing to worry about. We keep him. We go on, we keep doing what we're doing. But if the new contract is not an option, if the ultimatum falls through, do we keep him for another year? Is there any benefit for letting him finish out this season and not selling him now? Lots of different people, lots of different things arguing, but these guys are going to break it down for us. They're going to give us the facts. And rather than me just doing a video and basically stealing their ideas and their thoughts, we're going to react to what they're going to say. Not going to play the whole video. If you want to go watch the whole thing, which I recommend that you do, the link to the video, the full length video will be in the description down below. Definitely go give it a watch. It's about a 12-minute video. This one's going to be a little bit longer, obviously, because we're reacting to it. And I'm going to be giving my commentary, my criticisms about their particular arguments, what they're doing, what they're not doing, what they're saying, what they're not saying. But let's start out listening to them talking about, so basically option one, sell Kane now for 60 million to 100 million pound, euro, whatever you want to do. Let him go next year on a free. Let him go in the summer for free. Which one is the best for the club? The club. Not your emotions, not your feelings. The club. Which one's better for the club?
So the big question is, how much is a season of Harry Kane worth for Spurs? Now, the biggest argument about keeping Harry Kane is that he makes Spurs more likely to finish in the top four, get them to the Champions League, and therefore get Champions League prize money. So let's break it down step by step, because the first thing we're talking about here is Spurs being more likely to finish in the top four if they have Harry Kane. So if we
Right, so are we more likely to finish in the top four with Harry Kane than not? This season, right now, like if we don't sign the center backs that are needed, if we don't get a defensive midfielder, how many seasons have we not finished in the top four in the last 3 years, even with Harry Kane? Oh, well, it was Conte's fault. It was Mourinho's fault. No, it wasn't. It was the fact that we conceded 63 goals last season was why we didn't qualify. Right? Harry Kane was there after Stellini, attacking football under Ryan Mason. Didn't matter.
If we look at Spurs' Premier League finishes since Harry Kane had his first 30-game plus season, that's 14-15.
So basically right now, 14-15, they're talking about the beginning of the Pochettino era, finished 5th, right? Then 3rd, and 2nd, starting 17-18, a little bit of a drop into 3rd, then 4th, then 6th, then 7th, then a freak year under Antonio Conte. We don't talk about this. I think that you know, this bit down here that they're talking about, I think is a shot at Nuno. Conte into 4th, and then 8th. So you can see the steady decline. Take out the statistical anomaly here, and boom, it's been a steady decline since the 16-17 season when we didn't back Pochettino, when Levy didn't back Pochettino. I don't know. Let's see what he got to say.
We can see that there's a general uptick under Pochettino till they get to this 2nd place finish. But since then, in the Premier League, there's been this gradual decline. As you can see, the finishing position has got lower and lower. Now we get to this point here with Antonio Conte, where there's a little bit of a blip. Spurs have Champions League football last season, but again, this season, 8th place finish, and you can see that trajectory is still carrying on. Which isn't me saying that Harry Kane has had a decline, because there's a huge amount of variables that are in play here, not least managers who are hugely influential. And let's face it, with the last few managers, there's a lot that Spurs fans won't want to talk about. But the overall point here is that Harry Kane doesn't guarantee you a top 4 finish.
Duh.
But taking into account this general decline of the club, the idea that keeping Harry Kane for an extra season will suddenly get them back up into the top 4 seems a little bit far-fetched. But why is the Champions League so important? Well, because it brings clubs a lot of money.
So this is the argument that I've been hearing a lot of people spout, right? This is the main argument that you see on Twitter, see on YouTube. But well, if we keep Harry Kane, there's a chance we could qualify for Champions League and we'll get, you know, money, more money, the same amount of money as if we sold him this season. Do you? Do you really though? Do you really though get that amount of money from doing that? I don't think we do. Let's actually listen. These guys break it out for you. No BS, just the facts, right? Throw your confirmation bias in the bin. Wake up. Stop being delusional fans.
Wow. So here we can see Spurs' Champions League earnings from the past 9 years, the Harry Kane era, and it's split into prize money, UEFA coefficient, and TV revenue. Now, if you look at the
So let's look at the totals here. Like, I'm going to give you my breakdown of this data here that he's presented, right? So basically, you know, 14-15 season, you know, we qualified in 15-16 for the Champions League. So 16-17, we made it to the group stage, 43.3. That's including the prize money from the Europa League and the TV revenue, right? We didn't get any coefficient money that season. 17-18, 60. 18-19, when we made it to the final, 102.5 million pound, right? That's the 16.6 for the coefficient, the 16.6 from the TV revenue, 69.3 from the prize money. That was our biggest haul, and it was 100 million euro. 100 million euro, not pound, euro. So you're talking biggest possible. The only way we can exceed the amount that we could get from Bayern Munich is if we make the Champions League final. And then again, 69.4, 66.1 in the most recent year. So even if we qualify, I don't see us doing any better next season in the Champions League than we did last season in the Champions League. Is there anybody who's got the chest? Anybody out there on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, in person, who has the chest to stand in front of me right now and say, we have a chance of getting to the Champions League final next season? Because if we don't, the math doesn't work. We will not get as much money as we could for selling Harry Kane for 100 million euro. Not pound, euro. It's not mathematically possible. So stop saying it. Now, let's go. Let's listen.
totals over here, you'll be able to see that if you finish in the group stage, you get around 40 million euros. If you finish in around 16, which is where Spurs usually end up, you'll get around 60 million euros. And if you're really lucky and you get to the final with a miracle run and a magical night in Amsterdam, you get around 100 million euros.
Okay, so basically, obviously, we can see that we don't need to watch him necessarily read this out. Let's kind of skip ahead a little bit to the argument, and let's take a look and see how he addresses the argument the Spurs friends are making.
Now, if we only count the years where Spurs were actually in the Champions League,
because it's the only relevant part, right? Like dividing the money between all of the different years that we weren't in Champions League is irrelevant because we weren't in Champions League, right? The argument is if we get Champions League, will we make as much money as if we sold Harry Kane for 100 million euro?
They earned around 68 million euros per season. That's around 60 million pounds. So even in one of the best case scenarios where Spurs are able to keep Kane for an extra year, that loss of 60 to 100 million means that they would need to seriously overachieve compared to their previous average Champions League performances just to break even. So
So to break even, just to break even, we would have to basically what this fella's saying, we would have to finish. We would have to make it to the final.
financial point of view, you can just about argue that keeping Kane would be worth it. But that's only if the best case scenario happens on the pitch.
So it's only worth it if the best case scenario happens, if we make a Champions League final or exceed a group stage without Harry Kane, by the way, because he's going on a free in the summer. Let's stop using that argument. Unless you got that chest, like I said before, it's not going to happen. But these guys here, they got it breaking down. Let's go. So the other argument that we're going to see is that Harry Kane is the best striker in the world. Him playing for our team always makes us better. Does it though? Does it always? Are we always a better team with Harry Kane in the side? We weren't a better team with Harry Kane in the side against West Ham in the preseason, were we? We looked better in the second half without Harry Kane. And Harry Kane was botching his role, dropping deep, getting in Maddison's way, and not playing the way that he needs to play with this as an attacking striker. Anyway, let's run forward and let him talk. Hear them talk about the tactical reasons for why. And remember, go back and watch this whole video. It's a great video. But let's listen to the tactical reasons why Harry Kane may need to go this year.
In the deep build-up phase, what you'll see from a Postecoglou team is this, fullbacks inverting. Why might they do that? Well, it makes it much easier to possess the ball in order to be able to move through the first few phases of the opposition.
So basically, he's talking about the tactics, breaking down why the Postecoglou system, how it works, what's the main inverted fullbacks, that same type of a style that you've got, Pep Guardiola, Arteta, De Zerbi, Postecoglou kind of uses that main thing with inverted fullbacks that tuck inside, play narrow, creating triangles in the wide spaces. I'm going to kind of fast forward and skip through this bit and get to the point where he's talking about striker, the striker's role and why that's important, the thoughts about that and how that applies to Harry Kane, because that's what we're talking about here, right? Harry Kane. We don't need to go watch the whole video. They break down Postecoglou's tactics pretty well about how this applies to a striker and how that's applicable to Harry Kane.
Of this triangular shape further down the pitch, so you're still able to control the ball in these areas. So the big idea here is that you want to get the ball into dangerous scoring positions. That means into this area in the penalty box where you're more likely to score. What is the job of the centre forward in this system? Well, their primary role is to get into these dangerous areas and score. So when you watch Postecoglou team play, what you should look out for is the centre forward pinning the centre backs. They're going to sit in between the centre backs here. They're going to do two things. One is to get into these dangerous areas, sit on the shoulder of the last man, so that in these instances where the ball is in the wide area, the wide player can play the ball to the striker and they can finish them off. But the other thing that pinning does is that it creates space for teammates around you. So when the centre forward is going for this ball, the two centre backs will be going with them, and this opens up a nice space here where your 8 can get into, and then they can generate these dangerous chances as well.
I like that little tool that he's got there. I'm going to have to get me one. I like tech. But basically what he's saying is the center forward job in a Postecoglou system is to sit in the half space between the two center backs, which either create space for the midfield to allow them just to push in and get scoring opportunities, or to take the balls from the wide positions and finish those in from crosses. The right wingers and all of those things are very important. Their ability to cross is important. Their ability to put balls into the box is important in the Postecoglou system. The center forward's job is to sit in the half space, pinning the center backs back, not dropping deep and creating play. Remember that. Let's listen a little bit more.
In behind the centre forward. But the whole point of this is that the system generates chances, and the centre forward's job is to be in a position to finish those chances. You want the centre forward to be around the goal, putting the ball into the net. So I've got an example of this from a recent Old Firm game. Celtic are playing this way down the field, but this is a moment of transition. So you can see Kyogo here, the striker, dropping back in to help his team defend. But the ball is going to be won by Greg Taylor, who's going to play it immediately to Callum McGregor.
So basically now he's just going to go over how we don't need to watch this. You can go watch the whole video, link below, and you can see the examples of how they're doing it. You got the Celtic striker, the ball's there, gets one back by this fella here. The ball comes out wide and then is played across. This guy scores, but it's offsides. but giving examples of how a Postecoglou striker, center forward, is supposed to play. He's given positive examples for that. But we are going to skip ahead to the Harry Kane bits and listen how that applies for us.
Getting into those dangerous spaces which the system is designed to get the ball into so they can then score. What might this system look like with Harry Kane in it? Well, we have a good example of what it might look like because Spurs have recently played against West Ham in a pre-season friendly.
Which we lost 3-2, by the way.
The first half where Harry Kane played as a 9, and one of the things you'll notice is that Kane is not getting into those dangerous areas. So here Spurs are playing this way down the field. This is the fullback, going to play the ball to Kane on the halfway line. Kane is going to receive it and then play the ball into Skip, but the move does break down. Now I want you to notice the timestamp here, so 1:07 on the clock. The move has broken down, Spurs are able to win it back, they generate a chance, that breaks down, and then they win it back in the wide area.
So basically, Harry Kane wasn't doing his job against West Ham. I think that was pretty obvious. I think if you watched the watch along, we said that, or I said it specifically all the time, that he was getting in Madison's way, he was dropping too deep. He needed to stop doing that. If that's the type of striker, if he can't shake that habit, should he sit?
And then in the 13 seconds that have passed since then, we're only just seeing Harry Kane getting into the penalty box in order to be in that dangerous position. Until then, his teammates have had to do that. And that's not how Ange Postecoglou wants his centre forwards to play, which is...
Now, granted, for that West Ham match, right, it's one-off. You very well could see in the next friendly Harry Kane do exactly what Postecoglou wanted. Harry Kane, because of international duties and the summer break, hasn't had as much time to learn the Postecoglou system as some of the other players have. That's a criticism that this guy here doesn't necessarily bring up. He kind of just immediately posits and almost plays as if though Harry Kane's not capable of doing it. I don't think he's saying that. It helps his point. But it is true that Harry Kane in this particular game didn't play the system, the role that he was meant to play as a striker. And if he continues to do that, there's an if here, if he can't shake it, then he needs to go.
Isn't to say that centre forwards can't be involved in the build-up play, but the problem that this 45 minutes of football showed up was that Harry Kane was doing all of the build-up stuff and not enough of getting into the dangerous scoring area stuff. So I've got a few more examples, and these are all from the...
You guys can go watch the examples. He gives more examples about this. I'm not going to react to all of those examples because I really want you guys to go watch the whole video. I think it's really good. Let's kind of jump forward a little bit. Listen to a counter argument that they give about bringing in Richarlison and Richarlison's role or Richarlison's performance in that West Ham match compared or contrasted against what Harry Kane did. So let's take a look at that.
Comes on as a number 9. Now, Richarlison is not as good a player as Harry Kane, but he comes on and...
Obviously, Richarlison's not as good of a striker as Harry Kane. We're not talking about talent or ability here now. We're talking about them doing their job, right? Who performed their role better in a Postecoglou system.
And immediately changes the game because he starts adopting these kinds of positions. So within a minute of coming on, we see here Spurs are now playing the other way. Højbjerg has the ball. This is Richarlison. He's already looking to find the space in behind the centre-backs. Højbjerg is actually able to play a delicious through ball, and Richarlison is in behind, and he's generated all this space now that Perisic can attack, so that when Richarlison gets the ball in this area, he can play the ball back across, and this generates what we call in the industry a good chance.
How did he miss that?
Which somehow Perisic misses. But the point is that Richarlison is now adopting those spaces that are really dangerous for a Postecoglou striker. Here's another example from a few minutes later. Now we have the centre-back in a load of space, but here's Richarlison between the two West Ham centre-backs, pinning them. You can see that he's dragging them. Their position is dependent on where he is. And there's a couple of things to notice here.
So basically, you guys can go watch the whole breakdown. I really suggest that you do. But it's basically Richarlison was getting into those positions. Right, him pinning those center backs back really caused problems for the West Ham back line. And even though they were kind of sitting back, sitting deep, and in a mid to low block and trying to stink out the win, because Richarlison was playing the role better, the tactics worked because this is kind of like a linchpin for the attack. The striker being in between and sitting on the back side, the back shoulder of, in that half space between the two center backs, it's kind of the linchpin that allows the two wide triangles to operate with the space and freedom needed in a Postecoglou system. Go past the examples. You guys can go watch those on your own. Link is down below.
in those areas where Postecoglou wants his centre forwards to operate. And again, this isn't because Richarlison is any better than Kane, it's that Richarlison has a profile which much better suits the Postecoglou system. So let's get back to the...
I don't know if it's necessarily a profile that fits the system better. I think he was just doing it. I think Harry Kane could do those things. And I don't necessarily think that Richarlison's profile fits it better. I just think that he did it and Harry Kane didn't, right? And it's all about doing what the boss wants. It really is. Football's like a game of chess, man. If you know the openings, if you have the strategy, you can draw the other team into traps and then exploit it. That's what it's about.
The question, should Spurs sell or should Spurs keep Harry Kane? We've seen that from a financial point of view, Spurs aren't going to make as much money keeping Harry Kane as they will from selling him.
So stop making that argument then. Right? You've seen the data. They broke it down for you year by year, position by position, amounts earned. We will not keep as much money keeping Harry Kane and qualifying for Champions League than selling him this summer to Bayern Munich. The math doesn't work. Stop making that argument. If you continue to make that argument, you're just being disingenuous and you're being pig-headed and you're being delusional. You can't get past your own bias, right? You have a confirmation bias, a cognitive dissonance that you're stuck in and you can't escape it. We got to be smarter than that as people. We just do.
They've just brought in a new manager who plays a very different style of football to the old manager, and there's lots of holes in their squad. So
definitely have lots of holes in our squad. No center backs, no defensive midfielder, none of that stuff.
to £100 million right now would be pretty useful. And then on the field, we've seen that the issue with strikers is not one of quality, but of profile fit. Harry Kane is probably the best number 9 in the world, but
I don't know about in the world. He's up there, though. Top 3 for sure.
he's a very different profile from what Postecoglou wants, which means that Spurs could probably bring in a replacement for Kane much cheaper.
I don't know about much cheaper, right? Because if we're going to bring somebody in, we need to bring somebody in with at least 60 to 65% of the capability, the goal scoring capability of Harry Kane. So if Harry Kane on average is a 25 goal per season striker, we need somebody hitting that 18 to 20 mark. We just do. We got to have somebody hitting that 18 to 20 mark in a Postecoglou system, period. We can't be going after 22, 23, 24-year-old guys with 1 year's experience like that bloke from Frankfurt, or that kid from Atlanta. We have to, or Fiorentina. Sorry. We have to be going after strikers who can actually have a year in, year out certified record of getting 18 to 20 goals a season. And that list is short, and that list ain't going to be cheap. It's not going to be cheap.
All of which suggests that it's a no-brainer. Spurs should sell Harry Kane.
So logically, right? Throw the emotion out of it. Logically, it's a no-brainer to sell Harry Kane this summer. It's a no-brainer. So why are fans so against it? Why are you so stuck? And I get it, right? He's Harry Kane. You want to keep him if you can. I want to keep him if he's willing to sign another contract. If he don't, he needs to go
now. But there is one convincing argument for Spurs fans to use that the club should keep Harry Kane, and that is that he's one of your own. Every football fan wants the chance of seeing the best players in the world playing at their club, and off the basis of that, it's entirely right for Spurs fans to want to keep Harry Kane.
So that's the only reason. That's it. Your emotions, your feelings, your own personal selfishness, your desire to keep Harry Kane because of the memories, the love, the feeling that you have for him. Is it what's best for the club? Is it the badge on the chest or the name on the back? Which one is more important to you? Which one is more important to you? To rebuilding the club, to getting out of this rut, to doing things. Look, he's got 5 years at best. 5 years at best. Can we make this work? Should us as fans be arguing to keep Harry Kane for just this season? Right? Not talking about the argument of getting him to sign a new contract and staying long term. That's obviously the best option. If Harry Kane takes that option off the table, because it comes down to him, none of us can force him to sign his name on that dotted line. With that option being off the table, what should we do as a club? He's got to go, man. He needs to go. But that's it. That's all we got today. If you want to cuss me down in the comments below. Hit the thumbs down button. If you like the video, if you want to see more reaction videos like this, make sure you DM me. If you got a video that you saw, you got a YouTuber who said something dumb that you want me to react to, you want me to mud the wrong in, hit me up on a DM on Twitter at WillStewart365. Send me the link. I'm going to do this type of video as often as I can. Videos that I think that you guys need to see that I haven't seen people talk about, or reactions to mud wrong-ins, or positive ones like this. This is a great video. Again, why Spurs should sell Harry Kane now. Tifo IRL. The link to the full-length video is in the description below. Make sure that you go over, give a subscribe to Tifo, man. If you're not subscribed to Tifo already, make sure you do that as well. It's a great video. I really think it is. Check the comments out on their video. I haven't looked at them yet. There may be some wrong-ins in the comments there, but you got a lot of other fans that aren't. You know, I'm not gonna look at the comments. You guys can go look at the comments and see the delusional, the wrong in fans. But that's it. I'm done for today. Stay strong, stay Spurs, and I am out of here.
The first game we look for, Robbie. Tottenham away. When we got Tottenham away.